Jade had spent the better part of 5 years cultivating her online following. At first, it was just about makeup tutorials. It was easy to hide behind bright lights and a friendly smile. It helped Jade to appear confident, even as a shy teenage girl from a small town in Middle America. Over time, Jade found her niche in discussing urban legends and spooky internet mystery. Her audience was a curious mix of makeup enthusiasts and horror fans, and she delivered both glitter and ghost stories with equal enthusiasm. Eventually, her channel, simply titled Jade Lives, reached over 1 million subscribers, a milestone that almost guaranteed influencer status, brand sponsorships, and a comfortable living. Yet, as the numbers soared, so did Jade's desire to keep giving people a thrill. The cat, hiding under a shelf on his truck, she became daring, forging deeper into the macabre across her platforms. She didn't realize that one night, the thrills would become real. The idea for this ambitious live stream was to do a marathon of creepy content. Jade wanted something interactive, something that would shock her fans in real time. She teased this special event all over social media. Uncover your worst fear, live. Her audience clicked the reminder bell in droves. It was clear they were fascinated or at least morbidly curious. Some fans asked if she'd use a Ouija board. Others predicted it would be a petty jump scare. But Jade's plan, though fuzzy at first, began to coalesce into a night of spooky stories, user call-ins, and face your fears confessions. She even teased special effects. The wonders of modern streaming software could allow for supernatural illusion. She didn't expect it to be anything more than an elaborate show. But something else had already marked her live stream, something that felt eerily unstoppable. Even Jade, the woman behind the curtain, had no control over what was about to happen. A few minutes into the live stream, Jade greeted her viewers from her vibrant, neon-lit studio. Her hair glowed pastel pink in the overhead ring light. She gave an animated wave. "A fear, followers? Tonight, I've got something very special in store," she said, winking dramatically at the camera. Comments flooded in. Some viewers typed excitedly while others offered arbitrary emojis. She noticed a few rolling eyes in chat, recognizable trolls that popped up whenever she tried something new. Jade had grown thick-skinned after so many years online, letting the negativity roll off her. She shifted some audio tracks, previewing a faint background track of eerie chords. Then, something unusual caught her eye. One commenter wrote, "Look behind you." Jade paused. That was typical troll humor. Another wrote, "Your greatest fear is about to be revealed." More of the same, Jade thought. It matched the theme, right? Then came a burning wave of text everyone else in chat read at once. "We see you. We know your fears," Jade exhaled sharply. She had planned no automated messages. Her producer, a college friend named Kelsey, sat at the computer controlling visuals. Kelsey gave Jade a confused look. The screen flickered. Suddenly, every comment vanished, replaced by a single sentence that repeated over and over. "We are the fear followers." Jade stared, mystified at Kelsey, whose shoulders lifted in a helpless shrug. She whispered, "Is this a glitch? A hack?" Jade cleared her throat and tried to play it cool. "Hey folks, not sure what's happening with the chat. Must be a weird server issue. Let me just refresh." She fiddled with the settings. The screen filled with static, then returned. The chat resumed its normal pace, but a stillness had settled behind Jade's confident smile. She was unsettled, though she laughed it off for the sake of the show. She proceeded with a segment about a particularly harrowing urban legend from her childhood. Her voice sailed through the story, a fabled monster that lurked in abandoned playgrounds, stealing children at dusk. With each sentence, she gestured widely. Scary music played in the background, a subtle crescendo. The usual drama. She expected her viewers to respond with the typical flurry of excitement and nervous laughter, but the chat was subdued, answering only with single-word comments like "scared" or "fear" emojis. Another hush. Jade leaned forward to read. A new message posted itself in all caps. "Jade, you fear abandonment. This is your warning." She froze. That was painfully accurate. No comedic cackling, no troll-like aesthetic. It felt too personal. A detail Jade had never mentioned publicly. Even Kelsey looked alarmed. The screen flickered again. Jade swallowed. She mustered a slight laugh and forced a grin. Okay, wow, you guys are good. I guess someone's having fun messing with me. Cheers to you, random internet puppet master. She tried to move the show along. Let's open the lines for your scary confessions. Just call in and my producer will route you in. Kelsey nodded vigorously, as if she too wanted to break the strange tension. The first caller's voice sounded scratchy and low, like it was masked through a digital filter. Jade asked for a name, but the caller remained silent for several moments. Then, in a voice that seemed to emanate from an echo chamber, it said, "I see you, Jade, and I see them. Each face, each viewer." Jade's eyes widened. She was about to hang up, but the voice continued. "Lisa, who's watching from her bedroom. You're terrified of mirrors, right? Because you saw your sister's face twist in the reflection all those years ago. And Derek, you hate tight spaces. You still have nightmares about being locked in a trunk at 6. The chat erupted with the watchers' confusion, some in shock that personal details were being revealed. Jade's heart hammered in her chest. How did the caller know such secrets? Before Jade could sever the line, the voice made one final statement. "Each of you will see your worst fear tonight." The connection abruptly ended. People spammed the chat, demanding an explanation. Jade shielded her microphone and hissed to Kelsey, "Kill the feed. We'll restart. This is too weird." Kelsey's shaky fingers hovered over the keyboard. She pressed the button to end the broadcast. It glowed red, indicating the stream was offline. Jade slumped in relief, head in her hands. Something was seriously wrong. They'd been hacked. She scrolled through her phone to check messages. Her close friend Jasmine had texted, "What's happening? The stream is still up. It never ended." Jade's eyes snapped up to the screen. Sure enough, the chat numbers were still climbing, and the camera feed still showed her face in real time. Kelsey's voice quavered, I turned it off, Jade." Jade pressed the button herself, repeating the process, but it stayed glued to on. The viewer count rose exponentially. Messages poured in. Some demanded answers, some typed frantic pleas for help, others threatened to call the cops. A portion of watchers indulged in the chaos, finding it hilarious. Jade noticed a new wave of posts describing horrifying illusions. Watchers wrote about feeling their throats constrict, hearing footsteps in otherwise empty rooms, or smelling something rancid behind them. She realized they were experiencing phobias in real time, as if triggered by the voice on the call. Jade raised her voice. "Kelsey, kill the Wi-Fi at the router." Kelsey scrambled up from her seat and raced out of the room. Jade followed. She needed to cut the internet entirely. That would break the stream. The hallway outside the studio was dark. The overhead bulbs flickered, and Jade's stomach churned at the steady hum of electronics. She reached the living room. That was where the router's cables snaked along a power strip. She flicked off the strip. Silence. Darkness. Then, a whisper sliced through the quiet. "Too late," Jade almost screamed. Kelsey was next to her, trembling. The mesh Wi-Fi node was still powered on, a faint green light shining. The entire system was supposed to be unplugged, but it glowed defiantly. "How is that possible?" Jade murmured, eyes wide. In desperation, Jade wrenched the cables from the devices. She yanked the cord from the wall. No dice. The tiny green light blinked, unwavering. Jade's phone buzzed in her pocket. The stream was still running. She gazed at Kelsey, her breath catching in panic. She blurted, "I don't know what to do." Back in the studio, the screen carried on as usual, streaming an empty room. The chat was full of watchers describing terrifying apparitions. Black shapes crawling on floors, whispered voices telling them secrets known only to them. Some viewers threatened to close the browser, but many insisted they couldn't look away. A bizarre compulsion kept them anchored, eyes glued to the horror unfolding within their minds. A few typed that they tried to exit the live stream, but it wouldn't let them. It was as if a sinister presence had locked them in. Jade's own fear was creeping in. She couldn't bear being left alone or abandoned, and the fear that everyone might turn on her was looming. She refused to be the cause of so much pain. "We have to do something," she told Kelsey. She called Jasmine and put her on speaker. "Jazz, can you get to my place ASAP? Some freaky stuff is going on," Jasmine responded in garbled static. Jade yanked the phone back, only able to make out bits and pieces. "Still streaming, unstoppable, in your system." Then the call splintered into screeching feedback. Jade hung up, her heart pounding as though it wanted to eject from her chest. They stumbled back into the neon-lit studio. The cameras were still rolling. Jade saw her own face on the monitor, pale, eyes wide with dread. She parted her lips and spoke directly into the camera. "Everyone watching, please, get off this stream. Protect yourselves." Her voice was shaky. She was basically pleading with her faithful viewers to depart, but the chat spat messages back at her, claiming the watchers were trapped, that close buttons, ESC keys, or even powering down computers didn't work. One viewer typed, "We're stuck. It's not letting us leave. My phone just repeated the phrase, 'Don't look away.'" Another wrote, "Kelsey's greatest fear is letting someone down. She's terrified she's letting her best friend down right now." Kelsey looked like she might collapse at any moment. The flickering overhead lights cast odd shadows across the walls. Jade's mind raced. "What if," she breathed, "we confront it? Talk to it directly? I used to do summoning rituals on stream. Maybe this is one of those forces, like a parasite feeding on fear." Kelsey hesitated but nodded. Jade tried to calm her pounding heart. "All right," she began, raising her voice. "Whoever you are, you obviously want an audience. Well, I'm here. Talk only to me." At first, there was no response. Then chat messages disappeared. The screen went black, replaced by a new feed. A stylized symbol of an eye, ringed in blood-red lines. A voice broke out from the speakers, the same digital distortion layering every word. "We have no single name. We are fear itself. We offered to show them the truth, and they came willingly. We feed on what lies in the darkest corners of their mind." Jade bit down on her lip. "That's not an answer. Why target my channel? Why me, my viewers?" The voice hissed. "Because you invited us with your constant search for fear. You gave it a home on your channel, a platform to grow." Jade's vision blurred as tears welled up. Was it true? She had been chasing the next creepy topic, ignoring how it might linger in the subconscious. She never imagined something truly malevolent might latch on. Kelsey angled the microphone away and mumbled, "Jade, we have to make it let them go. These are real people suffering from real horrors. We can't just watch it feed on them." Jade gritted her teeth. She turned back to the camera. "Let them go," she commanded, voice trembling with a forced confidence. The voice responded with something like a static-laced chuckle. "What do you offer in return?" Jade's mind rattled. Judgment, guilt, and the dreaded possibility of losing everything filled her chest with a dull ache. She responded, "Take me. My fear, end the stream. I'll face whatever you have in store, but let them walk away." Kelsey gasped, but Jade placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder, her expression grim yet resolute. Slowly the chat began to flicker. People's screens reported new messages. "A trade is proposed," it read. "If Jade endures her fear alone, the rest may be free." One by one, watchers typed they were being kicked out, or the feed was freezing. For the first time, the viewer count started to dip. People found they could exit the stream. Relief washed over Jade. Perhaps this horrifying presence was holding to its side of the deal. Gradually, the chat dwindled until only Jade, Kelsey, and a few stragglers remained. The final message in the chat read, "Kelsey, leave her. This must be done alone." Kelsey's eyes filled with tears as she whispered, "I can't just abandon you." Jade rubbed her friend's arm, voice quivering. "You have to. If you stay, it might hold them hostage again." Kelsey tightened her jaw but eventually fled the room, tears glistening. Now Jade was alone in the neon-soaked darkness, her digital audience presumably gone except for the entity. She felt a presence behind her. The overhead camera flickered, capturing Jade's trembling figure. The voice reverberated in her earpiece. "We see your father, walking out the door when you were 9. We sense the emptiness in your soul when your best friend transferred schools and never called again. We feel your fear of isolation. Let's see how much you can bear." Jade's gaze drifted around. The corners of the studio were morphing, and her eyes lost track of reality. The walls seemed to stretch away, leaving her in an infinite black space. She blinked rapidly, but the illusions remained. She recalled a memory. Her father's footsteps leaving the house for the last time, her mother sobbing in the kitchen. Jade had felt worthless, unwanted. In that moment, the black void around her conjured images of slamming doors. The silhouettes of those she'd loved turned away, vanishing into the distance. She tried to steel herself, to remember it was an illusion, but it felt too real, and her breath caught in her throat. Moments stretched painfully. She wanted to retreat, but forced her gaze steady. Then, a flicker in the corner of her vision revealed something else, a vast emptiness, with her mother's silhouette receding. She tried calling out, her voice echoing. The sound died in the silence. Gradually, the silhouette disappeared. Spasms of guilt erupted in Jade's chest. She had spent so long chasing internet fame that she seldom visited her mother after leaving for college. The long nights she lived alone in a big city, forging her brand, were fueled by a primal desire to outrun the loneliness. Now it was staring right at her. She had built a career on being never alone, always connected with a million fans, but the timbre of true solitude was pounding in her eardrums. Words returned, oozing from everywhere and nowhere. "What will you do if everyone leaves? What are you without them?" Jade's cheeks burned, tears trickling, unrestrained. She answered, "I'm me, Jade, and maybe that's enough." She struggled to believe her words, but forced them out anyway. "I've been alone before. I survived. I can do it again." An abrupt shift. The illusions changed to a twisted reflection of Jade's studio. Dark shapes moved behind the ring light. Suddenly, a figure came into sharp focus. Jade's younger self, wearing the same pajamas she wore the night her dad left. The child's eyes were wet with tears. She whispered, "Please don't leave me," an echo of Jade's old plea. The adult Jade tried to respond, but the child's voice swelled into overlapping echoes, each more desperate than the last. Jade seldom felt so helpless. She knelt, arms stretched out, but the figure melted into the gloom. Darkness enveloped the space again. The voice attacked. "You created an empire for your need of approval, but no matter how many follow you, inside you're still that abandoned little girl." Exhausted tears tinged Jade's voice as she spoke. "I know. I tried to fill that hole with likes, views, subscribers, but it didn't make me whole." She paused, thinking of Kelsey, Jasmine, her mother, real friendships and family members she had neglected or taken for granted in her single-minded pursuit. She wondered if, when this was over, assuming she survived, she could mend those connections. The blackness began to retreat, replaced by the faint glow of Jade's studio lights. She found herself collapsed on the floor, the mic still in front of her. A swirl of static overtook the audio, and she felt the presence recede a bit, as if it were uncertain. She was shaking, still raw from the illusions, but something inside her felt steadier. The voice seethed. "You can't evade fear so easily." Jade managed to speak, though her throat felt raw. "No, I can't, but maybe I can accept it. I've been running from the feeling of loneliness since I was a kid. Running only made it stronger. You can't feed on me if I'm not afraid." A flicker. The entity's symbol reappeared, the eye with the blood-red ring, swirling ominously on the screen. The voice came again, quieter, as if losing power. "And what of your audience? Those who feast so eagerly on horror? Will they be free of their own nightmares?" A wave of guilt pulsed through Jade. She'd given them a taste for darkness. But she steadied herself. "If they can face their fears like I faced mine, they can break free. There's no reason for you to keep tormenting them. Leave them be." An immense static flurry enveloped the entire room, the cameras forcibly panning as if jerked by invisible hands. The overhead lights flickered dangerously. Monitors hissed with black and white pixelation. Jade shut her eyes, prepared for another wave of illusions to slam into her. Instead, a thunderous crack sounded, as though a huge power surge had erupted. The lights died, The screens died. Everything blinked off at once, leaving only a ringing in Jade's ears. Dim emergency lighting from the hallway seeped into the studio. Slowly, Jade rose on unsteady legs, swallowing the dryness in her throat. She parted the thick curtains to see if the online feed was finally gone. No sign of the stream remained. The software showed no active broadcasts and the viewer count was locked at 0. Jade let out a trembling sigh, uncertain if the entity was truly gone or merely hiding. She backed away from the desk. That was when footsteps came pounding down the hall. Kelsey and Jasmine, arms full of discarded cables and cords. They froze in the doorway, winded but hopeful. "Jade?" Jasmine called softly. Her eyes darted around, worried she'd find something horrifying. Jade managed a nod, tears of relief glistening. "It's over," she whispered. They tested computers and phones. The internet connection was severed. The router cords lay in a tangled heap. Jade's smartphone was dead, batteries zeroed out despite being nearly full earlier. The three women migrated to the living room. They had flashlights and flicked them on, lighting the hush of early morning. A glance at the clock revealed it was nearly 4:00 a.m. Jade felt like the night had consumed years of her life. Her body ached, her mind reeling from the illusions, the revelations. She was safe for now, though every nerve in her body remained on high alert. Eventually, Jasmine spoke first. "Social media's blowing up. People got out. Some posted about nightmares, claiming they felt bizarre illusions. But the feed is gone now. Nobody can find it. It vanished the second you offered yourself to that thing." Jade inhaled slowly. A wave of exhaustion overcame her. At least they're safe. She sank onto the couch, burying her face in her hands. Kelsey sat beside her, wrapping an arm around her shoulders. The hush settled again, overshadowed by the faint hum of the city outside. Their biggest question was, what happened next? Would the entity return if Jade tried to stream again? Had it latched onto her permanently? Jade quietly vowed she would never again exploit fear for profit. Yet, she couldn't simply vanish from the world. Maybe she'd rebrand, focusing on empowerment rather than terror. Maybe she'd go offline for a while, see a therapist, visit her mother, reconnect with the people she'd sidelined. She looked at her friends. They were here, in the flesh, not illusions. The warmth of their presence felt reassuring, real. She rose shakily, gazing at the blank window of night. She spoke softly. "I'm done. I don't need to chase fear for likes anymore." She turned to them, tears brimming. "Thank you for being here. I'm so sorry if I scared you, or if I—" Kelsey put a finger to Jade's lips. "We love you," she whispered. "We're not going anywhere." The mention caused Jade's eyes to water anew. Being left alone was the fear that had haunted her for too long. But here, in the silence after the storm, she realized that real connections could sustain her far more than an ocean of strangers behind screens. As the last remnants of fear seeped beneath the locked doors of her subconscious, Jade vowed she wouldn't forget what she'd been shown. She couldn't deny that part of her still shivered, worried that tomorrow the entity might reappear, hungry for more. Fear was part of being human, after all. Yet she had faced it directly and survived. That small victory might be the first step toward releasing the grip of her old nightmares. Tomorrow she'd find out if the demon truly let her go for good, or was simply biding its time. For now, though, she allowed a faint, hopeful smile. In her darkest hour, she found forgiveness for the part of herself she'd always despised. In that acceptance, she discovered the beginnings of true freedom. And if fear ever came knocking again, she would be ready.